All right. Give me 1 second. Deether will be right in.
Alrighty.
All right, we set?
All right, here we go. Ready?
Yep.
All right, in three, two. Hello and welcome to Left Coast Live. It is Monday, February 3rd, 2025. I am your host, Dieter McBusiness, America's WASP, joined as always by StatPat, Stateless Patriot. We are California lefties coming to you about national politics. And wow, StatPat, wow,
Mm-hmm.
things are going about as well as you and I expected them to. I mean, we knew it was going to be bad,
Worse.
but I don't think we knew it was going to be this bad. What are
Oh
your
my
opening
God.
thoughts?
So
Good to see you, Connor.
what's up, Connor? Thanks for joining in. Opening thoughts. There's no other way to describe what's going on as a hijacking. Elon
Yeah.
Musk has hijacked the government. He has seized control of the U.S. Treasury, meaning he literally has control over all federal payments of every single agency. Sorry about that. Elon Musk has basically hijacked the entire government. He's taking control over the U.S. Treasury, which oversees $6 trillion. This is for funding of various government agencies, and he is unilaterally and illegally, in an unauthorized fashion, taken just a group of young interns and basically just ransacked these places. This goes for USAID as well. This goes for the Office of Personnel Management. It is beyond disturbing what is being allowed to happen. He has access to like the basically the entire payment system of the United States of
Yeah.
America. Like
Lots
it's
of
literally
sensitive information. You
beyond.
can look up your
Yes,
social security
it
number right now.
yeah, he literally has he has so much personal information on so many of us, and how is this even allowed to happen? It's unthinkable. This has never happened before in American history.
Connor says that he would love to join us, but he's too furious at a Republican friend to articulate his
Oh,
feelings, which is understandable. I
big
mean,
time.
guys, like, I'm probably going to cover this in my next essay, but how to manage personal relationships with people
Hmm.
who are MAGA, people who are still defending Trump,
Hmm.
let them go. Let them
Let
go and
alone the
let
Elon
them
Musk.
go. Let them go until Trump's no longer president. Let them go. It's not worth it. They are delusional
Hmm.
about what is going on with not just the country, but with conservatism as a whole. It
Yeah,
used to be just the party of money under Reagan. And then under W, it became the party of God. That was scary. And then we thought we killed that. And then Trump comes along and makes it the party of
Trump.
Nazis.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah,
all
first, yeah, the first term
self-serving.
was it was the party of Trump, and now it's
Hmm.
the party of Elon and the Nazis.
Yeah, yeah.
These
It's
American Nazis, man. It's for real. People like it's not Godwin's law. It's a apt
yeah,
comparison.
yeah, for real. I
And
mean,
this whole
what's
thing about like Hitler taking down Germany in 53 days once he was chancellor,
oh my
then
god.
that means you could probably do it even quicker in today's world with everything being digitized.
No, for real. Like it's literally like we're witnessing a speed run of the collapse of the United States. They're probably trying to fucking beat that record right now. They don't give half a flying fuck about democratic rights, let alone voting rights. There's so much at stake right now. There's so much being undone. It it it's happening at such a quick pace. You really can't even keep track of it all. It's impossible. And of course, like we have a constitutional crisis on our hands with this unelected bureaucrat who was not a civil servant. He was not elected. He was just he's just an extension of the Trump administration going in there with who knows whoever the fuck these Doge thugs and whatnot. And it's like Congress. It is up to Congress to create agencies, to put
Well,
agencies in place
the
and
weird
pass
thing is,
acts.
I mean, we just know that we just think he's going into the treasury right now to cut costs, right? That's his
That's
justification.
their yeah. That's how they justify it. That's what they claim, and it's complete bullshit. It's
God only knows what he's doing.
no, of course, no one has
And
any
it's
fucking
probably
clue right now.
whatever he's
There's
done,
no
whatever
chance.
data. I'm
Yeah,
sure the first thing he did was just get control of all the data.
yeah.
And so Elon Musk has everything that was in the US Treasury data storage, Elon Musk now has.
Hmm. No, yeah. It there's there's so much uncertainty. There's a whole lot up in the air, and it's just all rooted in dishonesty. Elon Musk is probably going to surpass uh, Donald Trump in how many lies he can tell as quick as possible. Like he lies as often as he breathes.
Yeah.
These claims that he's making that USAID are rooted in like radical Marxism, and they have like radical left wing goals. It's just all complete fucking nonsense.
Yeah.
Like,
No, it's propaganda.
and not to
It's
mention,
the radical left
yeah, he has
propaganda.
zero authority whatsoever to dismantle any agency. It is up to Congress. Like he Doge is not a government entity. They were not put in place by Congress. Like I said, this is an extension of the Trump administration, who again, like even if it was like done by Trump directly, he still wouldn't fucking have the jurisdiction to dismantle these agencies.
Yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen, man. It's scary. I mean,
It's fucking terrifying.
for people who are in the know, we knew, like I said at the start of the show, we knew it was gonna be bad. We didn't know it was gonna be this bad.
No.
My
Yeah.
concern is off the charts and
Mhm.
multifaceted.
Yeah.
And it's just I mean, we thought that the plane crash with the DEI bullshit explanation was bad enough.
No.
What
Yeah.
kind of bullshit explanations are we going to get for Elon having access to the U.S. Treasury's data? I
Right, and like
mean, and
when that first plane crash happened, I say first because I guess there have been two more
yeah,
plane crashes since the one at Reagan International, and it's all because of the rampant defunding of the FAA and the mass firing over so many of the federal employees. Like Trump's slashed federal like safety aviation standards, and it cut staff across the board. And within just like a week's time, we have these three plane crashes. It's like this department, this industry was already like stripped, like it was already stretched thin, and people don't trust flying anymore. There's such a lack of trust, that's a damning result of all this um deregulation.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's I studied storytelling at film school, and everyone loves to talk about that the most interesting part of any story is the hero's journey through hell. Well,
Mhm.
I'm here to tell everybody that you go through hell. You don't come out the way you came in. So right
Yeah.
now we are in hell, and the only way out is through. And it's going to be a long 18 months, because in 18 months he won't have the kind of power now. I think he'll be radioactive in 7 or 8 months. I mean, he's going to be
I
someone
mean,
that's going to be jeopardizing to a lot of reelection, and hopefully the Democrats can run good or at least half decent people in competitive districts, because they're going to have to take back Congress. They'll take back Congress, assuming that they don't mess with the election system,
that's
which
the
they're
thing.
probably going to
Like
do.
at the rate everything is like just eroding.
Decomposing, yeah.
Yeah, I
You can't.
really
No, there's no assumptions. You can't assume anything.
no, of course.
There's no way to know what's going to happen and what the damage is going to be until it's done, really. 3 or 4 or 5 years from now, we can look back
No.
and, oh, we made that decision and resulted in that.
Yeah,
So
they'll
it's
literally
pretty
make
scary.
any excuses they have, like any excuses. That's literally all. Like everything that they're pumping out there, because there's literally no transparency right now. There's no oversight. They have no idea what is going on inside of USAID, inside the Office of Personnel Management, inside the U.S. Treasury. Yeah, you have Elon Musk just churning out all this complete fucking bullshit with zero fucking evidence whatsoever. In fact, why don't we let's go over a breakdown of this. Do you want to react to a video that's breaking down like everything that's going on? Because like there's
Yeah,
literally
sure. What
like
is it?
so much. Okay, so it's the latest Philip DeFranco video. The first 12 minutes of his video goes over in detail what has been happening at the hands of Doge. And by
Trump
the way,
Musk shutdown scandal. Yeah.
that's it. Yeah. Speaking of which,
Okay.
like, why does Doge as an entity even exist when the government of the Office of Government Accountability already exists? Like, this is already an entity. This is already a federal entity. It's like, what? Like, my God, it doesn't make any sense at all.
All right, here we go.
All right, yeah, just have it at normal speed.
Elon Musk is wreaking havoc across the federal government right now, but most notably with USAID. We've got huge updates on Trump's tariff war with Canada and Mexico, with the next 30 days being
We'll talk
pivotal.
about
But
that
we've
later,
learned about
too.
the plane crash in Philadelphia, and New York is now trying to protect doctors who are sending abortion pills out of state from criminal charges. We're talking about all that and even more on today's brand new
we can just have it at
Daily
like
News,
maybe
how it's being covered and how people are
1.25.
reacting to it.
Yeah, I
But
did
first, something
1.5.
fun and great before I go ahead and ruin your day for the next 20 minutes. As of releasing this video over at beautifulbastard.com, I just released
Well,
three
he
new
just
hoodies and
talks
shirts, all of
really
which
really
were
fast
perfect
though.
for the times that we're living through. Starting with
Okay.
there's been too much stuff happening. Different, pour while you can, where you feeling. So like I said, now for the Treasury Department
Okay,
to
here
the
we
office
go.
today, starting with this. We need to talk about the absolute havoc that Elon Musk is wreaking across the federal government right now, from the Treasury Department to the Office of Personnel Management to the United States Agency for International Development. Because Elon, as we know, is the head of the newly formed Department of Government Efficiency. So there, to be clear, Doge isn't actually a government department. It's just a team within the administration. Congress is supposed to be the one with the power to establish or shut down federal departments and agencies. And with that, right, Musk, he hasn't been elected, he hasn't been confirmed, and he sure as hell isn't a career civil servant. And in fact, as the world's richest man and one who has consistently railed against what he sees as the injustice of federal regulation of his companies, he is possibly the most substantial conflicts of interest of anyone in this government. But despite all that, he is reportedly creating chaos, shattering precedent, and gaining almost unheard of access and influence across almost every actual department, agency, and office in the government. And so with that, let's start with the Department of Treasury, where the news starts with a standoff between Doge and a man by the name of David Lieber. Right? Notably, David is a guy who has dedicated his life to civil service, when his former colleagues say he could have been making millions on Wall Street. He started his career in the Treasury as an intern way back in 1989.
Yeah, that's something that I think should be pointed out.
The highest position a civil service employee can actually
There,
be. Notably,
because lately, Elon Musk and his cronies have been trying to force basically every single federal worker to resign, and like a lot of federal workers in various industries know that they could be making a whole hell of a lot more money in in private endeavors in the same industry, but they don't. They choose to serve. They choose to serve the public. They like these public sector jobs because uh, for a variety of reasons. But one of them is the service aspect, and they don't like the usually a lot of the time the co-workers of the private sectors, because they're not as hardworking as the public sector as public sector workers would be in a lot of these fields, even though they could make a whole lot more money doing so.
Oops.
Notably, everyone above him would be a political appointee, with David being described as the one who, quote, runs the nation's checkbook, and being widely credited with steering the nation's finances through the debt ceiling crises of the past 15 years. The key thing with all that is that Trump named Liebrick acting
So
secretary
this
of
guy's
the
been
Treasury
there
Department upon taking
35
office
years.
last month, with then Musk and his allies pushing him for access to the department's payment system. And notably, according to reports, that included Tom Krause, the chief executive of a tech company called Cloud Software Group, who's now working with Doge. But what we saw is that Liebrick resisted, with him then being placed on administrative leave, the Senate confirming Trump's pick as the new Treasury head, and on Friday, Liebrick resigned. And so then, very quickly, with Trump's new guy in charge, Musk's team was given access to the payment system. systems, which is a very big deal because these systems, they control the flow of more than $6 trillion every year. And tens, if not hundreds of millions of people across the country rely on them for the distribution of Social Security and Medicare benefits, salaries, payments to government contractors and grant recipients, and tax refunds, among tens of thousands of other functions. So with all this, you then had Musk claiming on X, the Doge team discovered, among other things, that payment approval officers at Treasury were instructed always to approve payments, even to known fraudulent or terrorist groups, with them then claiming they literally never denied a payment in their entire career.
Yeah, so this is actually a real sticking point for a whole hell of a lot of people, because it's like he didn't cite any evidence for this at all. There's nothing shared whatsoever. And it's like a lot of people want to say oh, well, I mean, this is sensitive information. It's not supposed to be out there in the public. Okay, so why the fuck does Elon Musk have it? If this is the case,
why are we trusting him with this information?
Right? Why? Yeah. Why?
No, I mean, Democrats need to be hammering this.
No, endlessly.
They need to
loudly
be
and
hammering
endlessly.
this.
Yeah.
They should make it so that he can't go anywhere in public without being protested.
Career, not even once. But then with all that, you had people saying, one, as is the case with many of his claims, he provided no evidence there to back it up. And two, to be very clear, the Treasury does in fact have a do not pay system to prevent payments to terrorists, fraudsters, and other bad actors. But in any case, with that, Musk is now reportedly using his new power to shut down some payments to some federal contractors. With this including, for example, shutting down payments by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services to Lutheran Family Services, which notably is a faith-based charity that has been providing social services to refugees. And that is a whole other
another thing about that too.
By Bloomberg, for example, Treasury officials have long maintained that its role is
the Lutheran, whatever the hell it is, literally orphans, like refugee orphans. It's fucking disgusting. Like why go after that? It's spite. It's spite. Spite is fucking one of the biggest motivators for Elon Musk. So he's going after who he views as a competitor, people who have wronged him. He's a spiteful fuck. So this is one of the biggest things he's looking for in these agencies, and he's going to tackle whatever it is. Because I think whoever heads the Lutheran, whatever the fuck it is, if I remember correctly, he actually has a personal vendetta against that part.
Lutheran Family Services.
Yeah.
Can of worms because, as explained by Bloomberg, for example, Treasury officials have long maintained that its role is to serve as the federal government's checkbook, and noting that the decision about whether to approve or deny payments belong to individual agencies based on funds appropriated by Congress. And so this is all wrapped up in this debate about whether or not the president can withhold funds Congress has already approved. Right? And with that, notably, according to a 1974 federal law known as the Impoundment Control Act, he generally can't. But you have some Trump aides arguing that the law is unconstitutional, which of course paves the way for a court battle. But also, in the meantime, Democrats are of course coming down hard on everything that happened with the Treasury. Senator Ron Wyden, for example, a top Democrat on the Senate Finance Committee, writing a letter to the new secretary saying, to put it bluntly, these payment systems simply cannot fail, and any politically motivated meddling in them risks severe damage to our country and the economy. Continuing, I can think of no good reason why political operators who have demonstrated a blatant disregard for the law would need access to these sensitive mission-critical systems.
Right.
Then you also
no tangible reason has actually been given. If they want to do audits, there are different ways of going about this. If they want to actually look at where to cut, you don't need to fucking hollow out entire agencies. But
that's that's what they're going to do. This is what they think that they're supposed to do.
Right.
This is
even though
Elon Musk is going right to the source of financing where all the money is allocated, bypassing Congress and tearing the infrastructure of our federal government apart.
Right. They literally just want to nullify the legislative
branch. They're going to cut education.
No, of course. This isn't even remotely close to over too. Holy mother of God.
No, it's just beginning.
Of the Senate Finance Committee saying in a statement, it's a gross abuse of power by an unelected bureaucrat, and it shows money can buy power in the Trump White House. And then, of course, with all that, the usual cliche applies. This is just the tip of the iceberg, because reportedly, similar Doge teams have begun demanding access to data and systems at other federal agencies as well. On Friday, for example, Musk's team reportedly locked career civil servants at the OPM out of computer systems that contain the personal data of millions of federal employees. This data
locking them out of their
social security numbers,
their
appraisals,
own
home addresses,
agency,
pay grades, and length of service of government workers. With one official even telling Reuters, we have no visibility into what they are doing with the computer and data systems, saying this is creating great concern. There is no oversight. It creates real cybersecurity and hacking implications.
That's a big thing that is not being
at least for now. It's probably
addressed. A big thing about the Trump administration is national security, and it's if these nobodies that were not vetted are getting access to these very sensitive systems, what is stopping them from getting into the hands of the wrong people? This is I don't think there's ever been a time since maybe 9/11 where national security has been this vulnerable.
Probably US aid. So shakeup might not be the word because Musk is now saying that Trump agrees that the whole thing must go. With that, US aid getting hit is something that we've talked about ever since Trump issued a sweeping executive order suspending foreign aid for 90 days. With that, then leading to mass confusion, layoffs, and program shutdowns. I mean, for example, more than 1,000 US aid employees and contractors have already been fired or furloughed. And then, on top of that, around 60 senior US aid staff were put on leave last week after being accused of attempting to circumvent the foreign aid freeze. With then, another senior official being put on leave or trying to reverse that move after finding no evidence of wrongdoing. But now, what we're seeing is that Musk's involvement is taking the chaos to a whole new level. Starting with this weekend when Doge personnel reportedly tried to access classified U.S. aid security systems and personnel files at the agency's headquarters in D.C. However, they, or at least some of them, reportedly lacked high enough security clearance to access that information, so the two U.S. aid security officials believe themselves legally obligated to deny access. The Doge personnel, however, they reportedly demanded to be let in and threatened to call U.S. Marshals to be allowed access. And eventually, according to reports, they got in, again, accessing classified information, which reportedly included intelligence reports. Also on Saturday, U.S. aid...
Clearly, like, do they think that the U.S. Marshals will be on the side of these fucking snot-nosed Doge thugs and not the fucking integrity of these agencies for crying out fucking loud?
According to reports, they got in, again, accessing classified information, which reportedly included intelligence reports. Also on Saturday, USAID's website went dark and the new page for the agency appeared on the State Department website. Also, USAID's X account went offline. And then finally, those two officials who kept Doge out, they were put on administrative leave. With then Musk saying in response that, quote, USAID is a criminal organization, time for it to die. And this is you then had Katie Miller, another Doge official, claiming no classified material was accessed without proper security clearance. However, with that, one thing to keep in mind is that in addition to canceling 50 security clearances in what's been described as an unprecedented and partisan move, Trump also granted temporary security clearances to officials who had not been fully vetted, which is something critics say makes the U.S. vulnerable. So with that, we saw Democratic members of the U.S. Senate Foreign Relations Committee writing a letter to Secretary of State Marco Rubio saying potential access of sensitive, even classified files raises deep concerns about the protection and safeguarding of matters related to U.S. national security. You also saw people like AOC writing on X. Having an unelected billionaire with his own foreign debts and motives raiding U.S. classified information is a grave threat to national security. This should not be a partisan issue. So there, you then had some hitting back.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, fucking Elon Musk has a lot of business tied up in China. So, like, who exactly is he operating on the behalf of, if not himself? Like, yeah, he's an egomaniac. He's a fucking gigantic self-supremacist narcissist. But, like, what other factors could be at play here? There's literally just so many unknowns. It's fucking unnerving.
Back predicting that Doge will uncover waste, fraud, and corruption, with then AOC responding. If you want to start with waste, start with Elon's defense contracts at the Pentagon. In fact, we should start with transparency around defense contracts in general, which takes up an enormous sum of public spending. But they won't do that. Will they?
Exactly.
Also, everything here, I will say,
the largest portion of discretionary spending.
That's except they're not going to fucking touch any of that. And I've said it from the beginning. If Doge is fucking serious, they'd look like into that, like that'd be the first fucking thing. But they haven't done it, so that means they're fucking full of shit.
I will say, when it comes to U.S. aid, this is about way more than just accessing data. You also have Musk describing the agency as evil and a viper's nest of radical left Marxists who hate America, with then Trump piling on yesterday as well, telling reporters it's been run by a bunch of radical lunatics and we're getting them out and then we'll make a decision. But that decision, it's reportedly already been made, with Musk saying that Trump is on board, that U.S. aid should be shut down. With this reportedly being a claim made by Musk in a conversation on X Spaces early this morning with Republican Senators Joni Ernst, Mike Lee, and former Doge co-lead Vivek Ramaswamy.
It's also incredibly politically partisan and has been supporting radical left causes throughout the world, including things that are anti-American, which is insane.
And Musk is right. That is insane. And clearly shows we need to have a conversation about what U.S. aid actually does.
Where are the specifics? What the fuck does that even mean?
Yeah.
For fucking real. God, like, how can this fucking slimy weasel of a fucking shell of a human being, not only like have this kind of fucking power, but just like no charisma, no fucking confidence as he speaks. Like, he's just fucking all over himself. I don't get it. Like, how did this guy fucking get to where he is at all? How did he convince so many fucking people? Because he's so fucking rich? God damn.
Yeah, he started out with money and learned how to screw people over really well. It's a tale as old as time. There are plenty of people who have gotten super rich off of other people's ideas.
Yeah.
And the credit very rarely goes to where it should.
Right. Yeah.
It's not that.
Yeah.
The agency was established in 1961.
At the Department of Defense was DEI, but DEI is just a fucking distraction. It's a nothing burger. It's complete bullshit. It's all based on lies. It's not. It has nothing to do with funding. If there is any funding that goes into it, like whatsoever, it's entirely negligible. It's just a way to go after fucking minorities and women.
clearly shows we need to have a conversation about what U.S. aid
Not
actually
to
does,
mention
because
trans
it's not that.
soldiers.
The agency was established in 1961 under JFK, and it is the world's single largest donor, providing 42% of all humanitarian aid tracked by the United Nations in 2024. But then also,
Crazy.
with that, foreign aid overall, of which U.S. aid is only one part of, accounts for less than 1% of the federal budget. But that's still billions of dollars that, among other things, goes to projects aimed at alleviating poverty, treating diseases, and responding to famines and natural disasters, as well as promoting independent media, social initiatives, and anti-corruption work. I mean, for example, we have talked about the agency's work combating HIV and AIDS, with also the New York Times, for example, reporting
Seems
on
like
the
a
other effective
pretty
programs,
good
like ones working
thing.
against forced labor and trafficking of Chinese workers. You know, with all this, I constantly hit on this. The world is not black and white. All of that is not to say that the agency is beyond criticism, or that there is not money
No.
going to places and people
None of
with
these
various
agents are
political
beyond
leanings you might
criticism, but fucking just
issue
stripping them clean and just fucking just like unilaterally from the executive branch, from an extension of the executive branch, wiping these agencies clean, fucking preventing all federal workers access to the servers, the building. That shit is fucking illegal. You have to
Yeah.
go through Congress.
issue with. Right? That is a conversation to be had, but it's not the one that we're having. We're basically talking about pulling the rug out from the entire world, and people are going to die. Now, with that, I will say some of the USAID functions are meant to survive. Where you have Trump administration officials reportedly discussing placing the agency under the authority of or merging it with the State Department. Though notably, that's a move that Democratic lawmakers and legal experts have argued would break the law adopted by Congress establishing the agency. With critics also saying it's a threat to national security, arguing U.S. aid has been essential to building goodwill and developing alliances to counter the country's adversaries. But despite all that, moves are still being made today. And more than 600 employees reported getting locked out of USAID's computer systems overnight. And then today, you had agency staff is reportedly being physically blocked from the agency's DC headquarters by yellow police tape and law enforcement. With this leading to employees and members of Congress protesting outside, and then lawmakers trying to enter the building, and several of them first speaking to the crowd.
I want to apologize. I want to say I'm sorry that you have to put up with this offensive bull coming out of this White House.
We are witnessing a constitutional crisis. We talked about Trump wanting to be a dictator on day one, and here we are. This is what the beginning of dictatorship looks like.
We are here to enter the building, and so we can hear firsthand from whoever is here at AID, or at least witness firsthand what is happening with this Elon Musk attempted takeover, which will not stand. We will prevail. Let's go.
Meanwhile, you've got Marco Rubio, right, the head of the State Department, announcing that he himself is now the acting director of USAID, with Rubio accusing the agency's employees of deciding that there's somehow a global charity separate from the national interest of taxpayer dollars. With him adding that sort of level of insubordination makes it impossible to conduct a sort of mature and serious review. So this is on the flip side. You had Senator Brian Schatz of Hawaii saying he would do
Fucking
his best.
review all their fucking activity in a congressional hearing. That is what the fuck they're for. God damn it, dude.
But they don't care about the rules, dude.
No,
they
of
don't
course.
care about the rules. They don't
Of
care about
course.
the structure. That this is what people with tons of money think that they're entitled to do. is to
Yeah.
go in, take over, completely reorganize, turn the institution upside down.
Yeah.
And everyone else has to adjust because they're used to people adapting to them.
Yeah, it's literally
best
just
to stop Trump's
like
State Department
it's
nominees.
unilaterally holding funding hostage. Like,
Yes.
Megan, do you not think there's any validity in stopping non-deployable people from becoming soldiers? I think there are more uses for military personnel than just being like deployed in any field and whatnot. There could be intelligence officers. There could be people that work stateside. There is a large variety of sectors for people to be enlisted and have a variety of uses for. Go ahead.
Until the administration's attack on USAID ends. And also, outside of the government, you have people like a professor of public policy at the University of Michigan telling Wired, what we're seeing is unprecedented in that you have these actors who are not really public officials gaining access to the most sensitive data in government. And adding, we have very little eyes on what's going on. Saying Congress has no ability to really intervene and monitor what's happening because these aren't really accountable public officials. This feels like a hostile takeover of the machinery of government by the richest man in the world. And again, of course, this is just the beginning. I mean, going back to that conversation with Musk this morning, he also said,
I think we need to go in and do wholesale removal of regulations. Like, regulations basically should be default gone, not default there, default gone. And if it turns out that we missed the mark on a regulation, we always add it back in. This is our shot.
Sure.
This is the best hand
You
of cards
fucking
we're ever gonna
idiot,
have.
dude.
And if we don't take advantage of this best hand of cards, it's never going to happen. So we're going to do it.
Like there's no patience for
that's definitely a
no fucking semblance of patience. Like it's just like, oh well, I mean, like all regulation is bad, so let's just fucking get rid of all of them instead of like go over like which regulations one by one that like you might want to do away with or renegotiate. Like it's insanity. Like
Yes.
what the fuck are like you shouldn't be here at all. You should not have any fucking say in this at all. It's fucking insane.
A conversation that we should have. But what Musk is talking about there, it's pretty extreme. And arguably, the people that it would benefit the most are people like him. And so with that, I got to pass the question off to you. What are your thoughts with everything in this mess that we just talked about? But then shifting gears, we need to talk about a few different plane-related stories from over the weekend. Starting with the tragic news that a small medical plane crashed near a shopping center in Philadelphia on Friday evening, killing all 6 people on board and a 7th on the ground. Authorities have also confirmed that 19 others were injured by the crash.
Yeah,
that
was the segment that I wanted to go over.
Ambulance, the private ambulance.
Yeah.
Flight.
Yeah, but
those officials are still assessing.
You want to?
We can go over this. Yeah,
video circulating on social media showing fires burning all around the impact site. A massive crater where the jet landed, as well as charred cars and debris from the crash spanning multiple blocks. It's also been reported that nearly a dozen properties were damaged, but officials are going door to door to determine if there was any more hidden structural damage. Now, as far as what we know about the crash, it's really not all that much right now. But we do know that the plane was a jet rescue air ambulance, which conducts around 600.
There were 3 things, right? That you said there were 3 crashes. I think there was just 2.
Well, this is the second. Well, obviously the first one I'm referring to is one at Reagan International. This is the this is only covering like the second one that we've known about, and then the third plane crash. Let me actually look it up here.
Crash. I mean, there are gonna be more. I'm not flying anytime soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're looking it up. Kyoto Zuma.
DC plane crash. No, that wasn't.
I think it's just 3. I think it's just 2 rather.
Right.
But there'll be more. Let's get into this Mexico-Canada tariffs because.
Yeah.
Prescriptions of abortion medication. But then from that, next up, we need to talk about President Trump's tariffs. Right, the 25% tariffs on goods from Canada and Mexico were announced on Saturday alongside a 10% increase on goods from China, though one notable exception was on energy imports from Canada, which were only slapped with 10%.
Megan's got it right here.
Stock markets react negatively despite being closed over the weekend.
She said the most recent one was an incident where a plane hit something on the runway, one injury, not really a crash. That's what it was. Thank you, Megan.
My friend Kyoto Zuma, call it that way. I've never flown. This doesn't incentivize me to want to. Yeah,
especially nowadays.
I don't recommend it.
God damn it!
I don't recommend it.
I wanted to go to Ireland someday. Damn it!
You'll probably get COVID if you go fly. And there's been 2 major crashes in the U.S. this week, in the last week, and then I think it was 16 years since our last one or something like that.
Yeah. For example, futures on Canada's Toronto Stock Exchange going down 1.3% before trading open this morning. Meanwhile, in the U.S., the Dow plummeted by 600 points, which was in line with the S&P 500 and NASDAQ, all 3 of which were down by about 1.6 on average. I mean, even stock markets in countries that weren't directly affected by the tariffs reacted negatively. Or you had the German DAX falling by nearly 2%, which matched the fall of other European markets. And keep in mind, this was all happening before the trading floor was even open. But then there was a surprising twist. When the New York Stock Exchange opened, things seemingly calmed down and only slightly dipped. And it appears that that's because shortly after the exchange opened, it came out that Mexico and the U.S. made a temporary deal to delay the tariffs for 1 month.
I saw headlines about that when I was at the gym this morning, and I was like, "Wow, that's really interesting." Like they didn't go through with retaliating on tariffs at all, and Mexico.
We're going to see some tariffs. It's not just a bluff. We're going to see some tariffs, but right. I think it's Canada that's probably going to get it, maybe not Mexico.
Right, and apparently, I don't know if this came out before the announcement, but apparently, U.S. and Canada just reached a deal earlier about fucking something to do with the border. But basically, all tariffs that were announced the past couple of days are no longer going to be in effect. And I'm not sure if this video talks about it because it came out like at the same time as the announcement, but we'll see.
Guard to the border to try and stem the flow of illegal drugs and illegal migrants. And in return, the U.S. will go after guns that illegally cross the border. You had Trump on Truth Social calling it a friendly conversation, also saying negotiations will be spearheaded by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent, Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick, and high-level representatives of Mexico. A big thing with this is that even if Mexico and the U.S. cannot come to an agreement to permanently end the tariffs, it does give Mexican exporters time to find new markets, which is something they would desperately need to do, as 80% of Mexican exports are sent to the U.S., with experts largely agreeing that the tariffs would lead to a recession there. And something that we've seen since the news broke is that the Trump administration has been taking a victory victory lap with Vice President J.D. Vance, for example, tweeting, "For 3 days, a lot of the far left have actively rooted against America and argued we'd get nothing out of President Trump's demands that Mexico secure its country." And then adding, "Well, how do you like them apples?" So this also, as you had many arguing, this was another example of Trump setting a fire and then putting it out and then
That's
hoping
it.
to be praised. Also,
That's literally it.
That Trump has been moving the goal.
it was a fucking non-issue to begin with, and it's like this is the most fucking insane thing about it, because we've talked about it on stream before. Trump says that we're getting ripped off, that these deals are unfair, yet he's the one that fucking negotiated these deals in his first term to begin with. Even Canada was like, I mean, this is the deal that we had when we just a few years ago. It's like it's been in place ever since. So like where exactly is Trump coming from on this? Then he makes the excuse like, oh, we gotta stop fentanyl. We gotta stop fentanyl from coming in over the border and whatnot. It's just like a lot of fentanyl's being flown in. You want
it's mostly carried over by U.S. citizens crossing the border.
Yeah, that's the thing too. It's just like pick one excuse or another. It's just like. It's completely senseless. I still am not able to make sense over like any of this. It's just like him creating a problem, solving the problem, and then claiming victory, doing a victory lap, like making his impressionable base think that he gets things done. He knows how to make deals and shit.
This was another example of Trump setting a fire and then putting it out and then hoping to be praised. Also, another angle out there is that Trump has been moving the goalpost with Trump's own statements over the weekend, going from "this will make America rich" to "this might hurt our wallets in the short term, but will be worth it to secure the border." Also, notably, for her part, Mexico's president avoided pointing any of that out, instead just highlighting that a deal was made and called it a good conversation with a lot of respect for our relationship and sovereignty. Also, while for now a crisis seems to have been averted on the southern border, at least temporarily, things are still tense over in Canada, where Prime Minister Justin Trudeau vowed to implement retaliatory tariffs.
Tonight, I am announcing Canada will be responding
as
to the U.S. trade action with 25% tariffs against $155 billion worth of American goods. This will include immediate tariffs on $30 billion worth of goods as of Tuesday, followed by further tariffs on $125 billion worth of American products in 21 days' time, to allow Canadian companies and supply chains to seek to find alternatives.
You also had Trudeau highlighting how much Canada has helped the U.S. over the years, when America was the only country ever.
So compare that response to Trump's response. Trump saying, like, because this was a negotiating tactic. Everybody's saying that this was a negotiating tactic for Trump, like threaten tariffs, don't fully go through with it because like you're expecting them to bend. You're expecting them not to retaliate. Canada did retaliate, and so Trump was just left it like, okay, well, hold on, and I'm pretty sure that's what like ultimately made them like meet for a deal, because Justin Trudeau's response here is like, okay, so this is happening. We're in a trade war now. I'm going to give Canadian companies time to adjust, a few weeks, before I put these retaliatory tariffs in place, so that way we can adjust to this new reality that we have to deal with, this betrayal from the United States. And and now I guess it's all resolved for now. It's just so fucking ridiculous. It's so insane.
I don't blame any of them for being angry or upset. Unwarranted actions are on our
Completely.
part. Yeah, this is something we talk about, is with the left is trying to shy away from anger, and my advocacy right now is embrace it. It's a perfectly natural response to inequality, injustice, and unfairness.
To find alternatives.
Yes,
and also Trudeau highlighting how much Canada has helped the U.S. over the years, including when America was the only country ever to invoke the mutual defense clause of NATO.
It's probably going to be put back up on the shelves pretty soon.
Built the most successful economic, military, and security partnership the world has ever seen. A relationship that has been the envy of the world.
Also, we've seen a lot of outlets taking the angle that Canada was specifically targeting items from Republican states, such as oranges from Florida. The list, it doesn't mention individual states. And in the case of oranges, Florida is actually not even the largest producer of them. California actually eclipses them. Regardless, though, it is possible that many items on the list are part of industries that Republican states more heavily rely on. We're also seeing that Canada is looking at ways to retaliate that don't involve tariffs, such as an export tax on Canadian energy, which I will say, I know that might sound like a tariff for a lot of people, but here's the difference. Tariffs tax importers. So Americans trying to get stuff from Canada have to pay the U.S. government. This tax, though, would be the Canadian government taxing Canadians trying to send energy out. Right? So it's meant to make sure that Canadian energy is expensive for Americans, even though the Trump administration tried to soften the blow by putting a tariff of 10% on energy instead of 25%. Notably, with all this, I'll say it wasn't just Trudeau that was critical of these tariffs. Right? Many Americans were also angered, and you even had the Wall Street Journal calling this the dumbest trade war in history. But with all that, we saw Trump having a lot to say, and yesterday morning he wrote on Truth Social, the tariff lobby, headed by the globalist and always wrong Wall Street Journal, is working hard to justify countries like Canada, Mexico, China, and too many others to name continue the decades-long ripoff of America, both with regards to trade, crime, and poisonous drugs that are allowed to freely flow into America.
Crybaby.
Those days are over. The USA has major deficits with Canada, Mexico, and China, and almost all countries owes $36 trillion, and we're not going to be the stupid country any longer. Make your product in the USA, and there are no tariffs. Why should the United States lose trillions of dollars in subsidizing other countries?
He doesn't understand economics.
No, he doesn't understand the difference between trade deficits and budget deficits. He's a fucking moron. He's so fucking stupid.
Other countries pay a small fraction of the cost of what USA citizens pay for drugs and pharmaceuticals. As an example, this will be the golden age of America. Will there be some pain? Yes, maybe, and maybe not. But we will make America great again, and it will all be worth the price that must be paid. And then Trump went on to repeat his desire to make Canada the 51st state, while also claiming that the U.S. doesn't actually need anything from Canada. Now, with all that, there is a lot to unpack here. So to start, trade deficits are common across every country, especially one as big and rich as the United States. It's easy to build a deficit when you're a country of 40 million selling products to over 300 million. The fact that it's just a $50 billion deficit is actually a testament to how much Canada actually buys from the US to even be remotely that close with such a small population. But the next two biggest are China and Mexico, and their deficits are over double that despite their populations being much closer in size. And then the currency difference is another factor, right? The US dollar is consistently stronger than the Canadian one. And the tariffs have actually fueled that, with the price of the American dollar rising and Canadian lower. And while a strong dollar definitely has many benefits, it just fuels the deficit by making American goods even more expensive for Canadians to buy. You know, that's without their own tariffs to deal with. Also, as far as the drug trade, very little fentanyl and other drugs come from Canada. Again, 2024, for example, just about 43 pounds of fentanyl was seized at the Canadian border.
It's a smoke strain.
It really is. And not to mention, like, I've said it before, but Trump really does think that tariffs act like sanctions.
Right.
It's so stupid. He has no idea what he's doing.
She's been great in the chat, so I'm going to give her some love.
Yeah.
I'm grateful it's only 4 more years. Hopefully, I hope there's enough pushback on extreme policies that he can't accomplish entire swaths of his agenda.
That's the only
18 months when he has both houses of Congress is going to be really scary. Kyoto Zuma.
Yeah.
It's going to be really scary. I wouldn't be grateful for anything right now. I would be in survival mode.
Yes. The
USA show out displays folks' willingness to speak out. Thankfully. Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing too is we can really only hope that there is so much incompetence from the executive branch, from the White House, from the Trump administration, that a lot of the stuff that they want to force through is not successful, and that there is enough pushback from the legislative and from the judicial, especially like on a federal level, that a lot of the worst implementations of the Trump administration don't get through, even though he does have both the House and the Senate. So we'll see. Megan, that's in that person is in Dieter's chat on his stream. That's why they're not in mine. Go ahead.
Is an order of magnitude less than the 21,100 pounds seized down south. Also, all this has led to actions by local governments and even businesses. So we're seeing things like the Ontario government reportedly looking at ripping up its $100 million deal with Starlink. And this is at the same time, local stores like liquor stores have quickly moved to remove American booze from the shelves to encourage people to buy Canadian goods, which I will say is actually a very notable thing because it is the largest single foreign market for American
really
booze.
do
also,
think
one of the big concerns
I think they should have kept the contract for $100 million for Starlink. I think they should have kept that canceled. Like, Elon Musk does not need any more fucking business.
No, we need to cancel everything associated. We need to cancel Elon Musk, like, in every possible way.
Yes.
He is an enemy of America. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
This is whether or not Canada is going to move to cut off access to certain key commodities like potash, which quick version of what that is that it's a group of minerals that are super important for fertilizer, and Canada has one of the largest deposits in the world. And this is another key thing, is that other big sources of potash are not super friendly to the U.S. So if this got cut off, it would be a huge blow to American farming. In fact, it is so important that American farming groups are trying to get the Trump administration to carve out tariff exceptions for it. Although notably that does not mean that that Canada still can't put its own export taxes on it, as we discussed earlier. And then, of course, finally, there's China. The new 10% increase on existing tariffs have ruffled their feathers and led their Ministry of Commerce to say that it is strongly dissatisfied and firmly opposes the tariffs. With China also then threatening to file a lawsuit with the World Trade Organization and warning that retaliatory tariffs would be implemented. Now, currently, we're still unsure exactly what that'll look like, but one of the big things that Trump wants out of China is for them to stem the flow of fentanyl. Right? And a big thing there is that a lot of precursor chemicals that make fentanyl, they do come from China. So there we saw China's foreign ministry hitting back, saying it is one of the world's toughest countries on counter narcotics, both in terms of policy and its implementation. For now, we're gonna have to wait to see what actually happens. It does appear this is likely just the start of tariffs, with Trump warning that Europe was next. But as for the actual economic impacts, it will likely take weeks or even months to get a real idea of just how much it'll hurt the economies involved. And as we've seen, this administration, it just moves lightning fast. So who knows? We may see updates or even a complete reversal in a month, a week, maybe 10 minutes after the video got uploaded. Actually, I'm now filming this right as I was about to upload today's show. We got an update with Justin Trudeau tweeting, "I just had a productive call with President Trump. Canada is implementing our $1.3 billion border plan, strengthening the border with new helicopters, new technology, new personnel, increased coordination with our American partners, and more resources to combat fentanyl tracking. Nearly 10,000 officers are and will be on the ground protecting our border." With Trudeau then adding, in addition, Canada is making new commitments, saying we will appoint a fentanyl czar, add Mexican cartels to the list of terrorist entities, ensure that we keep an eye on our border 24/7, and launch with the United States a joint strike force on organized crime, fentanyl tracking, and money laundering. With Trudeau then closing, "I also signed a new intelligence directive focused on organized crime and fentanyl, which will be supported by an investment of $200 million. The proposed tariffs will be put on hold for at least 30 days while we work together on this." And so yeah, a lot for us to keep our eyes on. And in the meantime, of course, I'll pass the question off to you. What are your thoughts with all this?
I can tell you what, I can tell you one thing. MAGA loves it. MAGA is loving it. They love it. They don't know the difference. They haven't felt it yet.
No.
When they feel the prices go up, I mean, because they don't own stock. People that own stock are, the 1%er MAGAs.
Yeah.
And if they do own stock, they're not. They're so ignorant. They're so willfully ignorant. They don't know the details of this stuff. And
yeah,
poking around the internet, watching this guy Parker. He takes calls from MAGA voters, and people just don't know the importance of the federal government or even their local government. It's absolutely pathetic.
No.
And it's that John Stuart Mill quote about conservatives, where he says conservatives are not necessarily stupid, but most stupid people are conservatives.
Right. Yeah. It's just so fucking nuts. It's so nutty. It's just another thing that Trump really knows how to work his base, play as a base. It's just
a cult. It's not hard to work your base when they worship you.
No, yeah. All you gotta do is set up some sort of performative gesture to tackle a negligible issue that's just nebulous and not exactly something that's really even measurable or something that you can't physically experience, some sort of nebulous thing, just for the purpose of throwing red meat to his illiterate base. It just say that you saved the day, because you tackled this thing. It's like me saying, I stopping a crime, but then everybody claps and I have no evidence for it whatsoever. But if I give enough details, I make a big show of it. If I make a spectacle out of it, just tell a great story. It can go a long way. Yeah.
So what do you have any sense for what the Dems actually can do in this situation?
Do I have any sense of what they can do?
Oh, wait, hold on. Let's get to this chat real quick. I brought up the blockchain and the treasury with my boss, age 70+, and he was furious, saying our treasury is not a Bitcoin. He was genuinely upset, and he voted for Trump. Yeah, fuck around and find out.
Yeah.
We'll get to the Democratic response rhetorically in a minute, because that's related to what I have to say.
Yeah.
She says he focuses so much on DEI, but then didn't know about the treasury incident. Yeah, because he's an idiot. He's not smart.
Right.
Okay, so we're in, I don't know if you've been watching these videos online, but there's a lot of people on TikTok and stuff saying, what is Trump doing? I didn't vote for this. Yeah, you did.
Of
you
course.
Just didn't pay attention.
You weren't listening.
I was on a call last night with some activists, and they had a pretty high profile publicly elected official that I won't reveal the identity of, just to keep his or her name protected, because I don't think that it was not it was a confidential call, I'm pretty sure, but
Mhm.
he or she basically gave me and the rest of the people on the call the spiel. Two things bothered me. One was he said our side has to choose love.
Okay.
And the other thing is when people are having their wake up call about MAGA 2.0, don't say, I told you so.
Are you fucking kidding me?
And my response to that is that's it. Actually, I would go the other way on both of those things.
No, yeah.
If you want to choose love, love thy lefty neighbor, but it is perfectly okay to hate MAGA. You should hate MAGA. There's nothing wrong with hating evil, and this is evil.
Yeah.
And so when he says choose love, I get frustrated because part of my message for the last 6 months, really since the election, it's been on steroids, is find your anger and use it. Turn it into political productivity.
Right.
That's what athletes do. Athletes are pissed off. That's what they run so hard. Anybody who you see a team coming that's playing angry, watch out, because that means they're going to play well.
Yeah.
And the left just does not have this concept of saying, okay, I'm angry. I can stay angry or I can do something with it. And so that I can move on from it in a productive way.
No, yeah. So you're not going to get a lot of your base. You're not going to get a lot of followers in general that are going to be motivated by love when they're fucking struggling. When they're paying record fucking grocery bills, and the cost of living is insane, and they're like opportunities are slowly being like eroded away and stripped away. You're not going to reach those kind of people with love. You should fucking utilize their frustration. You should weaponize the anger that they feel, because like they have every fucking right to be frustrated and angry with the system that's been abandoning them. So like you could be all fucking lovey and understanding all you want, but if you don't understand it, like not a lot of people are feeling really fucking lovey-dovey right now. Like that's not a motivating factor from them. They're not loving the situation that they're in. It's just really fucking out of touch. There's a place for compassion, there's a place for empathy, and that should be a driving factor. But if you don't understand it, a lot of people are pissed off. Like you shouldn't be in any position of leadership or strategy at all.
And I think if you're going to say I told you so, now's the time to do it, because then when the elections come around in, I guess, what it'd be like 20 months from now, then they will have gotten over it. They're like, yep, learned my lesson. Okay, not doing this again. We got to take power away from him.
Yeah.
My favorite chatter of the day, the whole Project 2025 was actively being talked about within the older social groups about town. And they said it was a Dem hoax. Lie. Yeah. I mean, there you go. So my attitude is fuck those people. I want nothing to do with them. I don't want to talk to them. I don't want to be near them at restaurants.
Yes.
They are dragging America down. You can only blame the GOP so much.
Right.
At what point do you say, wow, you Trump voters really fucked this up? And don't blame the progressive left for not showing up for Kamala, okay? No one's entitled to anyone's vote. And that genocide in Israel is a valid reason to not vote for her. And then we got another one. I believe a lot of people lack the understanding of what they can do, how to do it, and what's timely without huge investments. Most don't know they can call reps, write complaints, etc. Yeah, this is timing. This is a time to build relationships with the American public. And the time for big, meaningful change will be in the next round of elections, particularly primary elections.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
Mostly referring to liberals in vastly red states. It's rather tumultuous and potentially dangerous. Yeah. I mean, the Confederate flag waving, Bible beating gun nuts of MAGA America are scary. They are bullies with guns. And that's a big reason why I think a lot of lefty politicians don't call them out, because they're worried about getting killed.
Right. And going back to Project 2025,
yeah,
a lot of what was in it has been implemented so far
Yes.
with Trump's executive orders. I think like 2/3 of what he's signed so far has been outlined in Project 2025. Not to mention, a lot of the people involved with it are in his cabinet. A lot of
Yeah.
people like not only that authored it, but like are literally put in place to implement certain components of it are in his cabinet right now. That's why he appointed them. Like the Heritage Foundation just gave him like fucking a list of people, and like just like he did with the Supreme Court, he put them where they wanted these people to be put. So not only that, I think Russ Vought or whatever it is, whatever his name is,
Yeah.
very
that's it.
very fucking dangerous person.
Yeah, that's what they talking about on the
like
call last night.
a big he authored like the majority of Project 2025, and um he's been nominated for a big cabinet position. So it's all these people still trying to say, oh well, Trump distanced himself from Project 2025, doesn't know anything about it. It's just complete fucking bullshit. He's lying. He's fucking lying.
Yeah, so I would actually choose anger. I would not choose love. I was trying to get that message out in the chat during the webinar last night to get people to come over and subscribe to me because I think that's going to be a big part of our message for these next 2 to 4 to 12 years, man. It's going to be, you have every right to be pissed. You should be pissed. AOC called it righteous rage.
Yep.
It is righteous.
Yes.
It's not fair. This is absolutely ridiculous. But don't worry, because we've got a great new guy as head of the DNC. Now, this is TYT. I'm always reluctant to do them, but listen to this. I won't keep it here long.
There are a lot of good billionaires out there that have been with Democrats who share our values, and we will take their money, but we're not taking money from those bad billionaires.
There you go.
Oh my fucking god! There's no such thing as a good billionaire.
Let's talk about Ken Martin. Ken Martin.
It should have been the other guy.
Moderate, not going to hook the progressive left up.
Nope.
He's not explicitly owned by AIPAC, but that's because I don't think he's ever run for office. He's just been an institutionalist.
It won't take long, though.
He is just such a pussy and not what we need.
Right.
I hope he appoints, Marianne Williamson ended up endorsing him, but I hope he appoints progressives or at least angry liberals in positions of power so we can have some sort of representation of people's feelings right now.
No kidding. Yeah, at the very least.
I'm not optimistic.
No, yeah, not with a guy like this. I mean, it's not hard to find someone better than Jamie Harrison, but for fuck's sake, the other guy who received like just so many more resounding endorsements, like
Wickler.
Ben Wickler, he was by far and away a better pick, by far and away a better option, and yet I guess this guy kind of won overwhelmingly. Just like, holy shit, dude.
I'm sure Nancy Pelosi told everybody what to do or something.
Probably. How frustrating. God damn.
So did you see the Schumer-Booker conversation about social media and how we're going to be doing better with actually, you know what? Honestly, before we move on from Ken Martin, hold on. Yeah. So one thing about billionaire speeches, and then I'm not going to show the video because I don't want us to do too many reaction, but he did an interview. Ken Martin did an interview with Brian Taylor Cohen that I think I sent you, and he didn't mention one word about policy. The Democratic Party doesn't think they have anything wrong with their policy platforms because their policy platforms operate under the assumption that capitalism works, that this version of capitalism can work. And that's just not true.
It's dying.
This is conservative capitalism. And they haven't even gotten to a place of admitting that the system is broken, much less talk about how to fix the system structurally.
No,
the system is structurally flawed. Someone needs to step up and say that.
Yeah.
And I worry about AOC being the only one who's going to say that, or Bernie being the one who's like supposed to say it but isn't.
I just can't believe that like they can even like possibly think that. Like, how do these people believe that capitalism is in a good place when we have allowed the incentivization of not only corporations to be considered people via Citizens United, meaning they get to lobby whatever member of Congress that they want, or candidate for president that they want, and so that they can pass laws that benefit the ultra rich year after year after year, and all of a sudden you have these like insanely wealthy people, three of the richest people in the world, donate to Trump's campaign, are essentially part of his administration, Elon Musk in particular, and now he's fucking hijacked the government. How do people not? How do they not think capitalism is in fucking dire straits right now?
Yeah, it's late stage capitalism by a country mile, and if you're too stupid to understand that and realize that, then you are in the way. You are in the way. So let's get over to Chuck Schumer and Cory Booker talking
these
about
fuckers, these pieces of shit. Oh my god.
Oh man, see, if we had a decent opposition party, I'd be a little bit more optimistic. But when I see Chuck Schumer saying Cory Booker's doing a great job with the advice on our social media tactics and saying you got to put out an X tweet every day, and you got to put out a video every week and so forth. It's like, dude, that's not the problem. It's not your frequency of messages that is the problem. It is your messages themselves.
Right. Like
the messages are not working because you won't admit that this version of capitalism that we're currently living in doesn't work.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
So
like fucking
I don't know
Cory
if
Booker.
there's anybody in the Democratic Party that I have hope for really to kick them in the ass and get them to focus, because
no, very few.
They're not not doing it.
Like you had Tim Kaine fucking go on this excellent screed last week over the all the sudden federal funding freeze that just stopped like all funding of all federal agencies. That's why Medicaid was down. That's why SNAP was down, and childcare, various things that was very, very fucking noticeable and like freaked a whole lot of people out. He went on a great screed, but then again, but then he goes on I think fucking yesterday and confirms Scott Bessent, the new for the new Secretary of Treasury, the guy who fucking granted Elon Musk access, and Cory Booker did it too. This fucking this Cory Booker wants so bad to be like seen as this fucking progressive. Not only like has he fucking voted to increase fucking
he's owned by Big Pharma.
He's bought by Big Pharma. Yeah, more than likely he's an APAC shill as well, and he also voted to confirm Scott Bessent to the Treasury. It's like, holy mother of God! Like, where's the fucking opposition party? Where's the fight?
So I don't see APAC on his list, but he's gotten.
It doesn't redeem.
I'm looking
much,
at
but
his
open
it's
secrets.
not a whole lot of transparency in Cory Booker's campaign.
God damn, dude.
But yeah. I mean, it's just it's a cultural problem.
Nobody's meeting the fucking moment at all.
They don't know how to deal with conflict.
No, they do not. Not in any fucking way.
So the good news is that we have two relevant historical paradigms from which we can draw as to what's going to be required to get us out of this.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, the message is the same as it was from FDR.
Mm-hmm.
It is that government can and should and must be used to make society more fair, more functional, more defined by equal opportunity.
Yes.
The best way to invoke FDR is his second Bill of Rights. That was insanely popular. And it's too bad we lost him. It's too bad he died
before he got a chance
to get it done before But and then the other, so that's the message. I don't think it's complicated. People are like, well, what are your solutions? It's like, well, the fundamental understanding of the relationship between the federal government and the individual citizen was defined for us by FDR. We've just lost sight of that.
Yeah.
We've just lost sight of that. Since the 60s, we haven't really had that on our mind.
No kidding.
Secondly, there is an historical paradigm from which we can draw as to how we get that message out, how we implement the changes that we want, and that's the civil rights movement. And if the civil rights movement doesn't work, then it's the Civil War. I mean, this is where lefties need to go, is that we need civil rights 2.0. That's what I want it to be. That's what I still think it can be. I don't think it needs to be a violent revolution yet, but we might get to a point where it does turn violent. It kind of already has with Luigi Mangione.
No, yeah. And it's actually it's going to get even worse. Before I get to what this memo that was,
go ahead.
There's this memo that was leaked from the House Budget Committee that from Republicans that goes over the giant menu of tax breaks that they are planning to pass.
Mm-hmm.
And but fuck, what was I going to address before that?
I got something if you need a minute to think. I've got criticism of. So my buddy sent me this, and it's less than 3 minutes long, but it's a really good critique because they were talking about identity again in this most recent stuff with Ken Martin, and the first to do this, and the first one of those, and the first one of these, and it's
liberalism failed in the West because of identity. Liberalism failed in the West because of identity politics, and it's time for liberals to wake the fuck up. That shit is stupid. No one cares about your identity. The only people who care about your identity are you and probably the person you're fucking. But other than that, no one gives a shit. And it's stupid to give a shit about your identity. That shit's random. You didn't choose to be what you are. I didn't choose to be white. You don't choose to be black, gay, Asian, trans, whatever the fuck you are. That shit's literally random. And taking pride in something that is random is no different than going to Vegas, playing blackjack, getting dealt a 6 and a 7, and going, I'm proud to be a 6 and a 7. And some of you are like, well, people don't want me to be proud of who I am. Well, tough shit. People are going to hate you regardless.
Yeah.
People hate MLK. People hate Mother Teresa. People hated Jesus Christ.
Yeah, sure
doesn't fucking matter who you are. You're going to have haters. But if you root your entire fucking identity in some random ass shit, you're being a fucking idiot. It's literally why pride is a sin. You are taking credit for shit you had nothing to do with. But the reality of the situation is you're just the proletariat. You're working class motherfuckers. But every time you put a new label on yourself, you forget. And you have something new to bicker about, which benefits the bourgeoisie and the elite. There's no such thing as gay proletariat, black proletariat, white proletariat, Asian proletariat, trans proletariat. That shit's not real. It's just the proletariat. And you know who knows this? The bourgeoisie. They're fucking well aware, right? But as long as you dipshits are too busy focusing on who I am and I'm so special, you're going to fucking lose. You're going to lose nonstop. That's why the Democratic Party is such a dumpster fire. Because you guys don't know how to
It's kind of the left's version of American exceptionalism in a way.
Yeah.
It's like you're more exceptional of an American because you're from a marginalized group or something. That's
right. And you're very
subtextual and
you're more progressive than now. It's like, it's just like, it is exceptional. It is exceptionalism. It's just a circle jerk. And it's just like,
which is just narcissism.
Yeah, really though. And it's like this notion of like, it's like you're trying to be like a part of the in group, and it's just like virtue signaling to one another, and but there's like no substance behind it, and so
it's almost like a false community, right?
Yeah,
it's like in a superficial, artificial
like a pseudo community. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's like a superficial community. It's not the real community that we need to establish in order to have a better society.
And now it's being weaponized by rainbow capitalists in the Democratic Party. These liberals, instead of actually offering fundamental progressive change for the working class, shit that's substantive, shit that actually does change and benefit, like change people's lives, help benefit them, lift them up.
I don't know how to fucking win. Identity politics allows for people who feel disenfranchised to talk down to other people. And when you talk down to people, you lose the crowd. Take it from someone who's great at drawing a crowd. If I were to start every video with, as a straight white man, I think, no one's going to fucking listen to me. Most of you are going to roll your eyes and keep scrolling because I am starting this in a deep, deep place of ego.
Yes.
A deep place of who I am and what I am.
Yeah, I mean, I think narcissism, ignorance, and hypocrisy are the big 3 sins of American culture.
For real.
Matters so much that you should listen to me because of it. Fucking no one gives a shit. People can't pay their bills. People can't feed their fucking kids. Like, shit is falling apart rapidly, and you're still so fucking obsessed with who you are. No one gives a shit. No one.
Yeah.
You want to help?
Yes.
Oh, wait, hold on. Let's see what he says. Let's finish this
The
up. Then we'll
black
get to you,
community.
cousin.
Yeah.
Universal education, universal healthcare, affordable childcare, affordable housing. You want to help the trans community? Universal healthcare, universal education, affordable childcare, affordable housing. You want to help the white community?
How are you going to pay for it?
Universal
How are you going to pay for it?
Universal healthcare, affordable childcare,
Tax the
affordable
billionaires.
housing. This shit is not fucking rocket science, guys.
Yes, it's literally like there's bingo. Like
Problems
it's
and solutions.
literally like a one size fits all approach. It is literally what everybody is asking for. Yeah, great video.
Let's deal with her. You can't talk down to people if you start a conversation disrespect. You've already lost 70%. Okay, actually, I think that if lefty luminaries did start talking down to MAGA and calling them stupid and calling them white trash Nazis and Trump white trash Hitler, and then isolating the subgroup within conservatism that is really the foundation of MAGA, which is twofold: Confederate flag waving, Bible beating gun nuts, which I've done a video on, check it out, and then the heartless 1%ers who control the party. If you get, that's my whole theory about addition by subtraction in American politics. If you get just those two groups, the Confederate flag waving, Bible beating gun nuts, and the heartless 1%ers, it's not all 1%ers are evil. You just get them out of the room and we can actually get some positive change in this country. So maybe not talking down to MAGA, but talking at them, where you talk to your fellow lefties, but you talk at MAGA. And that's where I'd like to see protests of luminaries within MAGA, wherever they go. I don't want them to be comfortable.
Yeah,
and this is taxes, fair taxes. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're trying to like reach the right, if you're trying to reach people who generally vote Republican, like if you wanted to like tackle the narrative early
so
on.
Hold on a second. Hold that thought, Stat Pat.
Sure.
So I agree. MAGA is its own thing, but they've integrated so thoroughly into the Republican Party. It's a fine line to navigate. Okay.
Yeah.
MAGA runs the party. Project 2025 is the agenda, and Trump is a cult leader in a cult Zuma. So don't overthink this. Don't think it's a fine line. It's not a fine line. We need a flamethrower. We need a bulldozer.
Yeah.
We need huge weapons to counteract the effect of MAGA, because, yeah, maybe I would say at least 2/3, maybe 80, maybe as much as 90% of voters in this last election who voted for Trump are pretty much irredeemable.
This is
pretty much.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Like, if you're going to address the broad right, the broad Republican voter, differentiating between MAGA and like the traditional conservative Republicans, whatnot, can play a role, because at this late stage, it's a lot harder to say, but just spilling out what the beliefs are. Like, if you're voting Republican and you're siding with a lot of these MAGA types, these people who are like rah go Trump go Trump go, these are the things that you're actually like complicit in. These are the things that you're voting for. These are the things that you're signing off on. And like, are you okay with these things? Or do you endorse this action or this action or this action? It can go a long way, like differentiating, but it's like,
yeah, don't worry about it. It's not worth it. We get distracted by differentiation.
Yeah.
Don't worry about differentiation. You want to differentiate? Here's your differentiation. 3 strikes and you're out. You voted for Trump in 2016, 2020, and 2024. You are dead to me. You are in the way.
Yeah.
You are hurting American. You are anti-American. Please either don't vote, move to another country, or off yourself, because there's nothing good about you being a citizen of this country if you voted for Trump 3 times.
Nothing. Like, honestly, if this late in the game, since 2016, if you didn't learn in 2020, I don't see how you can learn now. I really, I don't, I like. How have you not understood like who he is so far? It's like it's just audience capture. They're completely like captivated by the cult of personality. Like, you can't um, offend dear leader. You have to appease him, if not the movement, so you can fit in.
Right.
There's
Conformity.
Conformity. There's no semblance of individuality anymore. There's no semblance of like original thought.
Well, that's the irony. That's the irony. That's the hypocrisy right there, because they all think that America isn't defined by groups, it's defined by individuals. So they think of themselves as hardcore individualists, and then yet they're part of this cult that makes them all the same ideologically and politically.
Yeah.
So, Gildazuma, I see a lot of content pushed upon Republicans via my boss, and it's mind-boggling the depths in which they have burrowed. The things they focus on aren't the same. That's what I'm telling you. They are too far gone. Okay?
Yeah. They really are.
Somewhere between 1/3 and I would say 40, as much as 45% of adult Americans are just gone.
Mhm.
They watch Breitbart. They watch Fox News. I mean, I call Fox News the white trash news network. Why are we respecting them? That's the thing. We've talked about it before. Do you respect a child throwing a temper tantrum? Of course not. As soon as you respect the child throwing a temper tantrum, the child is in charge.
Right.
Stop respecting them.
Yeah.
Your friend Megan had something to say here.
Yeah.
She said, talk at, like, ignore what they say. So third parties perceiving this conversation can assume you're ignorant or unwilling to even address their commentary.
That's so.
No,
Here's the thing about that, Megan. We're speaking like strictly like in regard to the too far gone types, because like you can pick these people out. You can identify just how far gone they are by how quick they are to like just go to their dialogue tree, like an NPC. Like they have their talking points because they watch Fox News and whatnot. They watch the fucking White House press briefings. I can't, like, just looking through like comment sections on various videos or on Facebook, whatnot, of people who unironically believe that the Biden administration signed off on 50 million condoms or something like that being sent to Gaza, as if that was like a real thing. And these are people that like read that and just gobbled it up. They didn't question it for a second. They didn't think, oh, that doesn't seem right. No alarms went off in the head, no red flags. They literally just eat up whatever they're fed by the White House, by Trump especially, and be it like his press briefings, his rallies, his campaign videos, all of it, or whatever they're fucking watching on Fox News. They just regurgitate what they hear.
Zuma, my favorite, have to be careful about how I ask about things, because I know if I come off as dismissive or derogatory, they're very defensive. Okay, so here's the tactic for when you're dealing with MAGA. You have no choice. If they just start talking about politics, keep them talking. They don't care about what you think. All they care about is proving to themselves that they're right. So just keep them talking by asking good questions. And eventually they'll trip over their own logic if you ask them good questions.
Right.
So act curious, but don't really again, you're acting like you respect them, but deep down you don't.
No, for real. And if you like it's the old saying, you give people enough rope, eventually they hang themselves. Like it's that. Like, just see, like, rhetorically speaking, see how deep of a hole you can get them to dig themselves. That's you'll be able to identify how too far gone they are, how much Kool-Aid they've drank. See if they can actually be reasoned with, or if there's just like fractal layers of wrongness that you'd have to peel back endlessly to even begin to get through to them and make them think about, like, the fact that they just have it all wrong, and they've had it all wrong for years and years.
That's
art
right,
of communication. That's right.
It
I
is
like
an
that.
art of communication, but do you know what else is an art? War. The Art of War, Sun Tzu. Check it out, because that's what's required to salvage our democracy and hopefully resurrect our economy. I mean, I've been researching the politics of revolution, the rhetoric of revolution, what's required to actually come up with some sort of, because in case those of you listening don't think of it like this, civil rights movement was a revolution. It was a peaceful, and by the way, it was a violent revolution. It's just one side took it on the chin. And then modern media had cameras there to show the rest of the country what was going on inside our borders. And we're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
This is what happens in third world countries. We got to do something about this. So modern media made it possible for the civil rights movement to be successful.
Yeah, it's actually just on that point. It's remarkable how much of a role that the media plays, because you're not seeing jack fucking shit for the mainstream media about like the potential damage being done by Elon Musk right now. And also on that point, of course, you're not going to see them with cameras and camera crews in Gaza seeing the fucking vile, destructive, barbaric atrocities being committed with our tax dollars.
That's actually one talking point. That's a talking point that I think is going to get hot, because I think this genocide is going to continue.
No, Megan. Megan, civil rights was not before modern media. Like you had modern media. It does date back.
Black and white TV.
The people were still able to see like news broadcasts back then.
There's TV footage that's really famous of black people getting hosed down by water main. Like, come on.
We're not talking about like modern media like the internet, but like back in the day when this stuff was still like being allowed to be broadcasted, and it actually did play a big role in civil rights.
Yes, Mississippi Burning, a little bit of a controversial film because they made the white people out there to be saviors, and that's one thing that people on the left do struggle with. I was talking with someone about maybe running for office someday who was connected on the left, and he said, the left doesn't need more straight white men running for office. And I was like, wow, man, I haven't gotten a sentence out and you have no idea what I'm capable of. And you're already telling me that I'm not going to get what I want.
God, so, dude, right.
Talk about the art of communication, man.
It's just like, it should
found out he's not that connected.
Yeah. It should like for crying out loud. If your perception is that like being a white man, a white straight man is just like a non-starter for like political advocacy or getting into office. It's just like, fuck off. Like,
yeah, you're a loser. You're a loser.
Yeah. God,
you don't know how to win.
There's no point in that at all.
They think politics is a conversation. It's not. It's a shouting match.
Yeah.
No, it used to be a conversation back when we had the nice Cold War. So that would keep the Democrats and Republicans working together, because we wanted to make sure our society functioned better than those Ruskies on the other side of the globe.
Right.
But we don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
So we don't, you never thought we'd miss the Cold War, but politically speaking, we kind of do. Even though it didn't produce, things like universal health care or anything really on FDR's second Bill of Rights, which for those of you just joining us, I see I got some new viewers. We're talking about the paradigms of FDR and the civil rights movement as what needs to happen for us to resurrect our democracy. Similarly, the Israel-Gaza genocide, okay? Mm-hmm. That's going to be a big talking point now that all this data has come out about voters sitting on the couch instead of voting because of Israel-Gaza. So my whole thing is, if you are an AIPAC recipient, then you should be primary.
Bingo.
Primary all of the AIPAC-owned Democrats, including Hakeem Jeffries. Like, primary. And that's, maybe we should get down to like people on this call last night. What can we do? What can we do? A lot of people are in the chat. They're like, join your local DSA, Democratic Socialist Alliance. That's the association. They're good. Like, they have some infrastructure that can be built on. I'm sure they're not perfect, but I just joined my local chapter and I'm psyched to have some fellow people to talk about this stuff. I think it could be good for the show. Hopefully it leads to some good guests.
Yeah, I'm gonna join my local DSA as well.
It doesn't cost much. It's $10 a month. It's like, it's worth it. It's for a good cause. And it basically, the purpose of these things is just the network. It's so people have access to each other and can support one another when a candidate that is actually progressive comes out. And one of the things that does bum me out is I see a lot of lefty channels hating on AOC. And I'm like, guys, I know she's not perfect, but come on, we got to build on this. Like, you and I did some research on Jasmine Crockett being a little close to crypto. I was like, okay, well, I think she's learned her lesson based on the research that I've done. So she's another person that we got to build on. But yeah, I mean, for that guy to say, like, we don't need more straight white men running for office on the left, it's like, dude, what?
You want whatever,
like 40% of the population.
Like like you want winners. You want people who like want a fight, who want to get in there and make a difference. Not like worry about stepping on toes or about who you're going to offend. No, you want to take the fight to where the fucking power, to where the fucking power is, because the power.
Right, so let me respond to Megan real quick. So Megan, modern media, the internet is actually postmodern media. Modern media is TV, and before that we had, like during World War II and stuff, we had theaters. We actually did have media. It just wasn't as ubiquitous as it became
and ham radio
with the advent of TV. But it really was TV that allowed for the civil rights movement to gain the exposure it needed to be as successful as it was.
Right.
Here, Megan's your most loyal chatter, so I'll do this here. You're a loser. You don't know how to win. How's that? A little bit Jersey, maybe. Gosden should be able to share their experience on social media. Yeah, they should, but Israel's done a really good job of suppressing that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It is postmodernism, Megan. Like,
it is postmodern.
Yeah. Like TV is what is considered a modern media. It's like,
okay, so this is a good point, though.
Internet changed everything.
Megan's great. We love you, Megan, but we gotta give everybody some love. Kilta Zuma, she gets AOC. She's talking about gets so much unwarranted hate. She speaks so much from the heart and has so much potential. Yeah, it might be unwarranted, but is it really surprising? You've got an attractive brown woman who got elected, a while ago, and
thin margin.
Barely.
Then, like, it was just like, I don't know if everybody like really even remembers very well, but when she was elected, when she actually was sworn into Congress, like, it was just a firestorm, and the attacks on her were relentless. And
that's what the right does.
Every single day, just the smear jobs were just insane. And like, sure, she was like young and naive. She didn't really handle it the best, but it's like, it was just like a shiny new distraction, No,
I think she's matured. She's evolved as a political person.
I would agree with that.
She's great.
Yeah.
Do you all stream on Twitch? No, but we should.
Yeah, we should.
No, wasn't surprising. Good. I'm glad you felt that way. I've always adored her and her character. Her passion is inspiring. See, so that's kind of that's the central casting stuff. When I was talking about president election, the presidential election was like, it's a casting decision. I mean, I talked to one guy who actually is open-minded about the left, and he said, well, if it weren't the party of the blue-haired freaks, then I'd consider voting for it. And he got caught up on all this woke stuff. This is a guy who went to Harvard, like, really smart guy. And it's like, man, don't those blue-haired freaks deserve representation too? Like, what's your problem? What are they doing? Do you think they are somehow dragging the party down? And like, it's not like we're putting them front and center or anything. I mean, Kamala Harris was qualified.
That's what the right's doing.
Exactly. The right's putting their freak shows up front and center.
Sure.
And their people love it. So maybe we should learn from the right in that way. But we need the righteous freaks, geeks, and weirdos.
No, it's like, you should stop accepting the way that the conservative media frames things, because it all comes from a place of dishonesty. It's like you're upset.
But that's competition. So that's competition. When you want your opponent reacting to you, you don't want your opponent making you react. For example, you're going one-on-one in basketball, right? The defense is just reacting to you and your movements. And then they're going to make a play on the ball at some time to try to get the ball away from you, right? Or they're going to prevent you from getting a good shot off.
Yeah.
But if you're not moving decisively, then, or moving at all, then they're going to move and attack you and take your ball away and make you look stupid. So you constantly have to be moving, is my point. Constantly have to be competing. You constantly have to get them to react. Like, why was Mitch McConnell not public enemy number one? Why are people not talking about this freak Mitch McConnell? And Kiltazuma says no one is a freak. Everyone is born capable of making their own decisions, whether it's one thing or another, minus the heinous things, of course. I mean, I don't know, Kiltazuma. I would describe myself as a little bit of a freak. I might not look like one, but in terms of my passion for politics, my understanding of what's required, my thirst for revolution, because I'm in my 40s now, and a lot of the promises that were made to me when I was young have not been fulfilled by the powers that be. And I was told that a lot of things were going to get solved. I was told that there were going to be some serious addressing of things like education. And now we are living in a hellscape that is the direct result of an education system that hasn't been reformed in like 45, 50, 60 years or something ridiculous like that.
Right. Yeah.
And so, Kiltazuma, don't think of the word freak as a negative thing, because
I'm a
professional athletes are freaks. They're genetic freaks. They are genetically outlying the statistical norms. They are huge, fast, and very coordinated. Like, you telling me Shaquille O'Neal isn't a freak of nature? Of course he is.
Big time.
That's what we need in a political sense, is we need freaks of nature. That we are the side of the freaks, and that's a good thing. And there's good weird too. Like, the French are good weird. That was on display this summer at the Olympics. It's like there's good weird and there's bad weird.
Speaking of which, the metal band that opened up the French Olympics this last year, one of my favorite bands, Gojira, the song that they played, they actually released it as a single, and that song just won a Grammy. I think it has a lot.
Cool.
It has a lot to do with that.
Political times.
With I mean that too, but the fact that it was like performed at the Olympics at the opening ceremony, had a lot to do with it. So I thought that was.
Boo
really
Radley
cool.
was a freak and saved those little kids. You know what he's talking about?
I have no fucking idea. Boo Radley.
I believe you, Pleasant Fury. I'm sure you're right. I'm sure he's right. I suppose I meant in the way AOC's not. Yeah, and Kiltazuma, I'm not criticizing you. You seem like a smart person or anything like that. It's just the words matter. You got to define your terms. And that's why I'm holding on to the word progressivism, whereas a lot of leftists have kind of given up on the word progressivism. Maybe that's a good opportunity to talk about the new name of my show. I called it The Progressive Revolution, so I can show up better in search results. And because I think it's timely. It's what I'm going to be advocating for. We need more passionate individuals who aren't afraid to speak out against the wrongs being committed against society. Right. And that relates to the freakish quality required by the advocates of anger that I want, which is that they are going to say exactly what they think of MAGA, regardless of the fear that might derive from a certain percentage of MAGA owning guns, a lot of guns with a lot of people.
Yeah.
To Save a Mockingbird. It's from To Kill a Mockingbird. Right. Boo Radley. Oh, right. Played by Russell. Robert Duvall. That's right.
Wow.
Great point. Good point. Yes. And To Kill a Mockingbird is where you get the definition of empathy, which is walk a mile in my shoes. Now, I've got to go soon, but there was an interesting, I don't know if do you want to do Bannon real quick?
Sure. Just real quick.
Or did you have something else? Go ahead.
So Megan says talk about the Trump South Africa thing. Thought of this because we were talking about freaks and the Diane's Word song. I think you freaky. I remember that song. Diane Word are a couple of garbage human beings, but I remember that song. I think you freaky and I like you a lot. Oh my God, Megan. So the South Africa thing, I don't know if they're gonna be putting like some sort of punishment, like on.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. It sounds
like
really hairy.
There's this conspiracy theory that's been going around for years and years and years in far right circles about white farmers losing their land or whatever, and I guess because of like illegal land grabbing or something like that. um the Trump administration wants to like implement some sort of like punishments on the country or whatever. It's just ironic like that they're doing that when fucking Israel's been doing that for who fucking knows how long now, and then like Russia's been trying to do it in Ukraine. It's just a waste of time, and like it keep in mind the people who are behind this are literally like Donald Trump and Elon Musk. I mean, keep in mind Elon Musk is from South Africa, and his family literally moved there because of the apartheid.
Apartheid, yeah.
Yeah, and so they're just fucking pro apartheid. That's really all it comes down to. But
okay, so we'll do this one section.
And the conspiracy theory was largely perpetuated by Lauren Southern, and I think even she made a documentary on it like back in the day, and I think even she has walked back a whole lot of the claims that were made in that. I could be wrong. I haven't looked as deep into it, but if I remember correctly, because this was like fucking a whole lot of the raids, especially back then. But yeah, let's go ahead and look at this Bannon thing.
Yeah, there's one part of the Bannon. I recommend everybody go and check out this interview Steve Bannon did. It's about an hour long. With I
got like 15 minutes into it while I was working.
Yeah, you got to check it out. Okay, so Steve Bannon is the godfather of MAGA, but he has since lost control of MAGA. It's become its own thing. He was Goebbels, but now it's Elon.
Yeah.
And here's what he has to say about the tech broligarchy.
They're not on the spectrum.
So
they're
what
not
is
they're a totally different thing.
This phrase is sitting here in my notes because you've used it a bunch. Techno-feudalism. We've talked about immigration, right? You've talked about the idea that Silicon Valley is basically trying to bring in as much foreign labor as possible to presumably keep its own costs down. That's obviously part of what you mean by techno-feudalism. But I don't think that's all of it, right? This is not just about H-1B visas.
No.
Suppose Elon Musk came in tomorrow and said, "No, it's fine. I'm reforming the H-1B program." You would still disagree with him. So give me a broader view of what you think is wrong with the Silicon Valley view.
Just a quick bunch of history. The Obama is the most, in the progressive administration, him and Biden, the most reactionary in American history. Number one, he made a Faustian bargain with the sociopathic overlords in Wall Street to bail us out of the 2008 crisis, which still hasn't been resolved. At the same time, the Obama and the established order went to Silicon Valley and made a deal with them. And the deal was the following: we will allow you to become the wealthiest people in the history of the world. We will let you create an apartheid state. We will let you become monopolies. We will get no anti-trade. In fact, that's why you got Google and search, you got Facebook and what they do, you got Twitter and what they do. You've got Amazon destroying small business for the CCP. Every one of these guys are monopoly. In the Justice Department for 10 or 12 years to just look the other way. So we'll let you become monopolies. We'll let you become the wealthiest people on earth. But here's the bargain. Here's what you have to do. You have to make the hegemon, the United States, and the post-war international rules-based order, and the ruling class of this country, you have to make us a dominant technological power of which we have the commanding heights can never be questioned. And over the last 72 hours, what we've seen is two things. Number one, in social media, the Chinese Communist Party and the PLA created TikTok, which is far more powerful than all the social media platforms of these guys put together, right? Forget that they use the information and the ownership. I'm just talking about the addictive nature and how evil can be put in there. And we now know that all the really, let's say hundreds of billions of dollars, not tens of billions, that we put into the theory of the case of blunt force computing power, that, the Green New Deal's forgotten, climate change is forgotten. You got to build power generators everywhere. You got to give over federal land for data centers everywhere. We got to burn more coal, more oil for these data centers, because our method of AI, we understand that if this is not a psyop, which I don't think it totally is, we've had our Sputnik moment, and guess what? The oligarchs that we created, who were all progressive Democrats, absolutely fucking face planted. Now here's the point. In techno-feudalism, you're just a digital serf. You're valued as a human being, as someone built and made in the image and likeness of God and endowed with the life spirit of the Holy Spirit. Is not, they don't consider that. Everything's digital to them. They are, at the end of the day, transhumanist. And what is transhumanist? Transhumanist is somebody says Homo sapien here and Homo sapien.
Okay, so this is the genius that was this term transhumanism, because this plays to what we've been talking about with the tech oligarchy. They do not think of themselves as just great businessmen or whatever. They don't think of themselves as Dale Carnegie or Mellon or Standish or whatever, any of those guys back in the Industrial Revolution, Vanderbilt, that made out like bandits. No, they think of themselves as gods.
They think of themselves as ascended, literally. Yeah,
They are, at the end of the day, transhumanist. And what is transhumanist? Transhumanist is somebody says Homo sapien here and Homo sapien plus, right? Plus on the other side, what they call the singularity. And that's why they're all rushing, whether it's artificial intelligence, regenerative robotics, quantum computing, advanced chip design, CRISPR, biotech, all of it to come to this point of which the oligarchs are going to lead that revolution. And why are they going to do it? Number one, when you get to know them and see where they're spending money, it's because they want eternal life. You know why? Because they're complete atheistic 11-year-old boys that are kind of science fiction, Dungeons and Dragons guys. And we've turned the nation over to that. And yes, I'm going to fight it every fucking step of the way. This is taking us back a millennium to feudalism. This is what their business model is based upon that. And
he says he's going to fight it every step of the way, but then in the other part of the interview, he says like, I'm all about Trump. I'm behind Trump all the way.
Right? Yeah, Trump's.
Well, how do you resolve that?
Yeah,
dude?
Trump's not fighting this shit, and it's like, yeah, no, he fucking nailed it because like Elon Musk, for example, 100%, 110% thinks this way.
Made a deal with these guys. They're all lefties. To feudalism. This is what their business model is based upon that. And the progressive left made a deal with these guys. They're all lefties. Elon had the first awakening because he could kind of, as an engineer, you kind of see the math. He fully supported our plan of a base plus election to go get the low information voters and the Moms for America who had flipped during the pandemic. He backed that strategy, and the dude wrote a $250 million check over 5 months, unprecedented, to back our play. He's the first, but the rest of them, even Andreessen, they're all super progressive liberals. They're all techno-feudalists. They don't give a flying fuck about the human being, and I don't care if you're black, white, Hispanic, Chinese. They don't care. And they have to be stopped. If we don't stop it, and we don't stop it now, it's going to destroy not just this country, it's going to destroy the world. And you've seen this artificial intelligence. We have no controls over this. We've allowed these monopolies to exist. And now we know they're getting their ass handed to them, I think, by the Chinese Communist Party. We're in deep shit right now. We're in a crisis. All right, I want to
say what you will about him, man. See, this is the thing about the enemy, guy.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the thing about competition.
I knew I didn't trust AI for a fucking reason.
This is the thing about how to compete. This is what I'm trying to teach lefties. As soon as you think your opponent can't beat you, that's when you start losing.
Yep.
And Steve Bannon is a brilliant political strategist. And he got Trump into the White House in 2016, almost single-handedly in terms of strategic decisions, going into places like Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania when everyone was telling them they couldn't win there, and they won all three. So he is a very important voice on the right, but he's not, if you watch the whole interview, which I encourage you all to do, he is not a self-proclaimed conservative.
Yeah, he's
a nationalist.
Yeah, he said himself early in the interview that he considers himself to be a populist nationalist. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So he doesn't.
He considers conservatives. He thinks conservatives are all pussies. The Republican Party. The Republican Party is all pussies. Yeah. Yeah. I'll need to finish the interview. It was really fascinating while I watched one of those parts. Like he kind of nailed it, honestly.
Yeah. No. The guy's brilliant. The guy's absolutely brilliant. Like. You know, he even just said in that part that we just watched, the base up low information voters.
Yes. No shit.
That's what they did.
Yeah.
That's what they did. He took the gloves.
Yeah. Like, and Elon Musk is like fully fucking aware of it. Like he's like fucking manipulation is all he fucking, it's how he got to where he is today.
All right. So Kilda Zuma, thank you so much for all your engagement. We really appreciate it. There's folks my mother's age, 60 plus, they're called boomers, that are furious about the setbacks. Well, it's their fault. She wants to resort to activism, but we're in such a red state that it's dangerous, yet she's willing to risk it. Others did. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I think you can give money at some point to some institutions like the DSA that can maybe support our efforts elsewhere. If you're in a deep red area, you're just kind of trying to survive. Don't do anything or say anything that would jeopardize your safety. But I will say that I do not believe in the grassroots approach to changing the Democratic Party because everyone's been talking about grassroots for so long that I don't believe in its efficacy. I also don't think we have time. I think we need top-down, trickle-down change that starts at the top, and that means primarying every AIPAC-owned DNC neoliberal that we can.
Yes.
Our local mayor resigned due to threats during COVID for trying to enforce masks. Shocker.
Awful.
Violence is a sure threat, and those afraid aren't going to rise up. Like me, unfortunately, I don't want to be an activist here. I don't blame you. Be an activist online.
Right.
Get to know people, network within the progressive left community, and understand, Kilta Zuma, the difference between progressive and liberal. That's why I'm holding on to the word progressive, because if you can just pitch the dichotomy as being defined as a difference in scale of change, you're going to win people to the progressive side because people are sick of incrementalism. Some people think, I think it's 80% of Americans want transformational change. 80% of Americans want transformational change. And yet you've got the Democratic Party here, owned by AIPAC, that is not down with transformational change. And they keep talking about, we'll take the billionaires' money. Violence, and that's what she said. She doesn't want to give money. She wants to get out there because she's not afraid. She's one of those that say, bring it. Well, if she does, make sure she's broadcasting live on Instagram or something so that the person who might be a threat knows that they're being captured on the internet and might actually have to face consequences. So if you've got the stones to get out there and do it in a deep red area, good for you. But I think there might be other avenues to help. You can volunteer and do phone calls in other districts. You don't need to be doing, I know people that were based in California who were doing calls for voters in Michigan and Pennsylvania and Wisconsin because those were the battleground states. And that's why I call it naive optimism, but I still think the Democratic Party is the only thing that's big and established enough to take on the Republican Party. But we have to get this message across. It's not about the general election. It's about the primary election. We need Gen Z and millennials and the open-minded Xers and the few progressive or left-leaning boomers that are left to recognize that you don't vote once in America on even years. You vote twice on even years. We're centered in Kansas, the more quiet region, so it's a rather precarious field to navigate. There's also not many population centers, so I don't know what you can really get done with activism if you're not protesting at the Capitol, right? And protesting politicians. I just don't know how much it's all about attention. Like you can't influence someone if you don't have their attention. So I would say keep watching the show. Keep watching the show, Kiltazuma, because I do have a strategic plan for how to take over the Democratic Party. I just can't really be as forthcoming about it as I would like to at this current moment.
Right. And not to mention right now, lately too, there have been there have been countless protests across the entire country that have been the purpose of these protests is in opposition to these mass deportations that are happening. So there's a lot of people getting out there and speaking up in opposition to just this horrible thing that's fucking happening under the Trump administration right now. Like literally, like people that are being deported or being snatched up that haven't committed any crimes, that don't even have like a criminal record or being violent or anything like that. It's fucking disgusting. And not to mention, lots of people are beginning to organize around these government buildings that have been seized by Doge, the U.S. Treasury being one of them, USAID being one of them. So like people are getting out and they're speaking up and they're drawing attention to all these things, which definitely does need to happen a whole lot more.
Okay, Kiltazuma, here's some advice because I think your activism or your political perspective might be valuable to people that you have conversations with about politics. Just start with the fundamentals. I call it Larry Bird it. Larry Bird this bitch and say, do you know the difference between liberal and progressive? And I guarantee you none of the MAGA people that you talk to will know the difference. They'll probably say progressivism is Marxism or communism. And it's like, no, progressivism is big time systemic change akin to the FDR era. And by the way, Social Security is socialism. So get over the fucking labels and get into the ideology and make sure that you understand. Yeah, exactly. Commies is what I hear most. Yeah, because it's cold. The Cold War is still here, man. The legacy of the Cold War is here. Socialist second. Yeah. And then you ask them, oh yeah, because capitalism's working so well. Right, because and then you want to be specific there too, and you want to call it conservative capitalism. I don't know if capitalism can work in a basic way. Maybe it can. You look at these Western European countries and the Northern European countries too. socialist and they're capitalist.
They
in
work
some
best
ways.
if heavily regulated. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or just it's heavily regulated by, it is a relative term because it's just heavily regulated by our standards. It would be just appropriately regulated if it were by their standards.
Yeah.
What I don't understand is how those who had parents that served in World War II are willing to support Putin's tragic strategies. I mean, it was just so
Power
long ago
propaganda.
they lost sight. They can't see the forest through the trees anymore.
No.
Like declaring that Ukraine should give up when the U.S. never gave up.
Yeah.
Because that's a product of American exceptionalism.
Mhm.
American exceptionalism produces an attitude of isolationism, even though we can't really afford to be isolationist because we are dependent upon the operations of the global economy, as we're finding out with this tariffs situation. So I've got to run, but man, good stream today. Thank you so much, Kiltazuma.
Big time.
You get MVP of the day for me. Really appreciate. Wait, hold on. They think Gaza should give up too, but that's equally as wrong.
No, of course.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is
we like
if it's in any way appears to be, doesn't even matter if it is or isn't. If it appears to be an inconvenience or hindrance to the United States society, to our individual citizens' welfare, even in the most minute way, then a conservative is going to reject it. What does this mean? Do you know what this means?
Oh, good. GG stands for good game. So like GG's is like
oh, thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
I'll keep an eye for the shows. Yeah, we record Mondays and Wednesdays. We go live. I do essays. I try to do them once a week, but they take forever to write and do slides for. So I'm trying to do another essay this Thursday, which will hopefully come out next week. Watch out for me I'm going to be on the Letter Hack tomorrow morning. And then I'm trying to set up another go with the Gen Z guys, the Gen Z podcasters.
For sure.
And then we also have a guest on Wednesday. Who is it? Soy Pill. The Soy Pill. Check him out on.
Oh,
Blue
that
Sky.
guy. Yeah. Okay. Cool. I'm looking forward to talking to him. I like his stuff. That's good. That's cool.
And if you're not on Blue Sky, find me on Blue Sky because that's my social media of choice right now. I have deleted my Twitter accounts.
I'm stopping.
I am not going to be a part of that. And I also just never liked it to begin with. So
as soon as I'm going to get.
Thank you, Pleasant Fury. That's amazing. Please do.
Oh, hell yeah.
And if you can direct them to my early essays, that's really the stuff I'm really proud of. The Who Are MAGA series, those kinds of essays were really stuff that will sell them on my perspective.
Okay. We'll definitely figure that out at some point, which could be useful. Yeah, once I get I'm gonna set up an account for this channel on Instagram. I'm also going to set up a Tumblr. I'm going to set up a maybe a Reddit at some point. At some point we'll get there. It's all a work in progress, but yeah.
Oh, sweet. That's awesome. That's awesome, Pleasant Fury. Thank you.
Oh,
all
sweet.
Right, nice. We'll spread the word on those because I worked really hard on those.
Yeah, I'm going to be stopping my Twitter usage completely. It's just going to be exclusively those platforms I mentioned as well as Blue Sky. Because I just don't want anything to
Blue Sky's going to evolve, man. It's only getting more popular. People are sick of Twitter. They're sick of the troll, and people have got their eyes up for the trolls. But I tell you what, the Blue Sky, insofar as it is a barometer for where the left is at, we really got to take on the establishment Dems.
Yeah,
but both for their approach to it's a lefty Twitter, so just check it out in the app store.
Basically,
that's me. That's the title of my new show, or that's the new title of my current show. It was American Wasp with Dieter McBusiness, but now I've just decided to call it the Progressive Revolution because I think I'll have a better chance of showing up in search results. I also think it's appropriate because we really do need to take control. We have the best policies. We have the best people.
Yeah.
We just don't assert ourselves. We're too nice. And that's that's what I bring. That's what I think you and I both bring. Stat Pat is an unapologetic, aggressive form of politics that the left should have embraced a long time ago.
Totally agree. Absolutely.
All right, my man. Well, thank you so much. You're going to keep going, right?
I'm exhausted. Honestly, I'm so jaded from all this. I'd rather just cut it off here.
Yeah, you're welcome, Cultazuma. We're going to keep at it. We're going to keep at it. And we got big plans for this year. So stay tuned so you can be a part of it and spread the news.
I also want to
I feel bad. I wish you were in like a major metro area so she could spread the word to like her friends, but it sounds like she's socially pretty isolated.
I mean, like
in the middle of Kansas.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But yeah, we'll I think we're actually coming up on our like 1 year anniversary for like the left coast in general.
Yeah.
I need to figure out like what day that is, but yeah, it's been.
I think it was this last month, but I don't know.
For sure.
I'm doing it. All right. Well, for StatPass Stateless Patriot, I am Dieter McBusiness, and we are reminding you that you don't get change in America by asking nicely.
Everybody have a good night. Thanks a bunch.
See you later.